Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, where every journey is worth living. My name is Dr. Dan, and I'm your host for today's episode. I'm a bilingual neurolinguistic programming and cognitive behavior psychotherapist specializing in anger management issues, both court-appointed and private, marriage and relationship coaching, dissociative disorders, narcissistic personality disorders, depression, anxiety, dream analysis, and also provide life, business, and retirement coaching support. I provide individual one-on-one sessions in both French or English, and also do group setting. If you need any assistance, reach out to DMB Therapy and Coaching Services at 301-325-1550, and our website can be found at lifecoach.drdanamzallag.com. Today, I'm very excited to have for our third episode of season 29 a very special guest, human behavior expert, mental health specialist, and author, Kareen Aristide. And just like every of my past episode, I will leave it up to the guests to properly introduce themselves, as no one can do a better job. Kareen, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dan. I'm super excited to be here. And it's always hard to talk about yourself and introduce yourself. There is so much to say about me. But I want to start by saying that I am a mom of five. So I have five children. My husband and I have been married for almost 26 years. And yes, thank you so much. And we recently relocated to the GTA, which is the Greater Toronto Area. For any Canadians listening, we were in Ottawa, and now we moved last week to Whitby, Ontario.
Okay.
And so it's exciting to start a new chapter, I would say. So professionally, I've been an entrepreneur for close to 25 years. I started out in entrepreneurship because of my kids. I was an employment counselor, and at the time, we had moved to a new city again, and no one would hire me because I was pregnant with my second child. And so, just to make a long story short, this is how I discovered this world of women, doing their thing. So, having their kids and business too. So this is when I really got into entrepreneurship, did a lot of different multi-level marketing businesses. And then I decided to combine my new entrepreneurial endeavors with my employment counseling background and started a business from scratch, helping women realize their personal dreams, their career aspirations, and their entrepreneurial endeavors while raising kids. And this is how I got into coaching, training, and a little bit later down the line, I basically crashed. I literally crashed while building my business, and I crashed into an apartment building. I almost lost my life, and that's when I discovered the importance of soul care. And from that point on, I realized that I had the superwoman syndrome, the savior complex, the overachiever, all of it. I had it. And so when I got back to relatively healthy, normal, I went back into my old ways and I crashed again. But this time it was mentally and physically. And so I had to finally see a psychologist because I come from a background where it's very taboo. And I'm a Haitian descent for any Haitians listening. And so that's where the journey started to realize that I didn't go through all of that for just for me, but for others, to help others as well. And so I ended up doing a bachelor's degree in psychology with a minor in neuroscience and mental health. And that's when my love for the science of the soul kind of was birthed at that time. And so, yeah, so just like I said, there's a lot to say about me, but this is a gist of how I got into just the field that you are as well into. So it's definitely been an amazing journey.
Oh, I have no doubt. And the one thing as well, you're lucky because 67% of the listeners here are actually women. So since you serve the women community, that definitely is going to inspire many out there as well. And I could just understand that. I mean, you're having so many kids and all, the challenges that you have to face, not only to be a nurturing mother, but also an entrepreneur and having to have those financial responsibility to be able to feed those kids, even if your husband is also working, but still we have that stress. And then you add the burden of being an overachiever and always wanting to
Mm-hmm.
do more and grow faster. And sometimes when we try to run too fast without really learning how to crawl, we break, and this is how we crash, as you mentioned earlier.
That's right.
So then, the mental versus the physical crash, obviously, they're both intrinsically correlated, because if you're
Yeah,
crashing mentally or if you're crashing physically, the mental will follow. And if you crash mentally,
that's right.
physical will follow. So it's unfortunate that many people think that there's no really much connection, but the reality
Mm,
is there is more than what you think, because the problem, a lot of
absolutely.
people are just not understanding how to balance both.
Yes, totally. And, I discovered that because I became sick. And so learning that my soul was sick was very daunting. It was very scary, to be very
Yes.
honest. But it really started, that second crash started physically. So I had these crazy ulcers that, I felt like I was dying, and I had to take very, very strong medication to deal with them. And so, and it ended up that this happened because I was burnt out. I was working at the time. I had a contract, a consulting contract, where I was basically working 90 hours a week. Like, it was just crazy.
Mhm.
Not to mention the family and everything. So it was a lot. And I didn't realize how crazy my time was consumed by work. And so my body had to talk to me and just say, you've got enough. You're done. I don't know where you're going, but you're done. I'm not going anywhere anymore. And so that's how also I think the the over exhaustion and the everything that comes with burnout,
Yes.
it kind of came, there's some stuff that surfaced that I think were hidden or just dormant, I feel,
Mhm.
because I was not taking care of myself. And as I was going through my process with my psychologist, I discovered that I did suffer from dissociative identity disorder.
Mm.
And it was interesting that you mentioned that this is part of your work. And having gone through the process, and for me, it developed because I had some trauma growing up, and that's kind of where it all was stemming from. And
So
so
how
going
many
through the process and allowing it to rise and dealing with the different alters, and I'm very happy to report that I'm fully integrated now, and it's just amazing what it did to not only my professional life but also my personal life.
so how
And
many things do you have, Chris?
I'm sorry,
How many personalities do you have?
that I had, I
Or
would
that you
say,
had? Yeah.
yes, three.
Three. So,
Yeah.
hold on.
Uh-huh.
So the trauma that you experienced in your earlier life, when did those personality actually kicked in? I mean, I know that they happen when you're dealing with a traumatic event at a young age. Then you
Yeah,
create a personality to protect you mentally.
that's right.
Then that
Yes,
personality derives, or throughout the years, you continue taking it. But the interesting thing for those who do not understand dissociative disorder, which used to be called multiple personality disorder,
that's right.
the American Psychology Association changed it in 1994. But the thing is that um, those personalities that you develop at that specific age or at that specific time, even though now that you're much older in life, they still act as the age that were created.
That's right. That's exactly what was going on. And a lot of people were witnessing certain things, and I didn't realize it at all before I had my process. And once I did the process, those parts of me were able to express themselves
Mhm.
and be reintegrated to the present day, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
And
absolutely.
so
And I think
yeah, and
there's a movie, if you know Kareen, it's called Identity with John Cusack. And for any listeners here who really want to understand better about what dissociative disorders, I think the movie Identity will be a great example to be able to know how it can be really confusing from within yourself on how those different
yeah,
identities pops up.
that's right, exactly. So it's definitely been an amazing journey to be able to be fully one
Mhm.
and being able to enjoy life without having to live in the past, and being able to handle stressful situations in a much healthier way.
So
So it's
did you,
definitely exciting.
so how did you put those two other personalities to be dormant? I mean, you must have done something. Did you take any medication for that, or did you do any like DBT personnel, I mean, modality, or did you do any kind of like therapy? I mean, you said that you did go see a therapist or a psychologist.
Yeah.
What kind of modality have they used to be able to treat dissociative disorder?
Yeah. So definitely there was talk therapy was a big thing.
Yeah.
And as well, it was a process where there's a spiritual component to my journey as well.
Mhm.
And so being able to basically have a safe space for this particular alter to express themselves and then realize where they're at and to be able to reintegrate with the main person. So that the process was several weeks of going through those different experiences that this particular alter has had, because having a safe space is the most important thing. And one of the things that sometimes is rarely understood is that an altar can represent schemas or different ways of thinking, of acting, of feeling that are connected to some earlier experience that you've had. And so, what happens sometimes is when an experience that resembles what you've had in the past comes up, then this particular schema or thought process or emotion kind of reacts
Mhm.
because they actually think that this is happening all over again, right? So
Correct.
having the understanding that, okay, this is no longer the case, you know, we're in 2025 now, and this is what is really happening in the person's life, and being able to, have this person understand, well, this alter understand that their work is done, basically.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, when it comes to mental health, I
Hmm.
realize a lot that, people sometimes they neglect it because you heard the expression where people spend the first 50 years of their life and jeopardize their health for their wealth, and then they spend the other 50 years of their life to use their wealth to fix their health, which is
That's it.
productive in a way because then you can
Mm,
avoid all that if you have a good balance. But now what
that's it.
is about
Absolutely.
the work-life balance, and you said that you work like 90 hours,
Yes,
which is approximately 13 hours a day, every single day with no break, the body will definitely take a toll, and that will,
that's it.
cause you to deal with what do you call that, with burnout and all. And
Yeah.
and I think I'm not sure exactly if you had that in your life when you were actually building your business, because then how long did it take you, Kareen, to be able to heal from that burnout?
Yes. So it took 3 months and I had to stop everything. And I
Mhm.
mean, literally everything. So I couldn't work. I couldn't, um, enjoy certain things that I used to enjoy, like traveling, things like that. I had to stop everything to really focus on my inner world. And so all I was allowed to do was cook for my kids. That's pretty much all I was allowed to do. And it was such a good time, very difficult time because, of course, we went from two very, um, significant incomes to one income. So we had to, sell the house and move
Yeah.
out, and we moved into a smaller space so that we could actually breathe,
Mhm.
And so, yeah, and it was a beautiful time because it got me also to reconnect with my kids,
Yes.
because when you work so much, then there's such a gap that can be created between you and your family. And so that alone was the huge healing piece to really be able to just be. And
Yes.
that's where my framework came from, just the being before doing, right?
I
And
agree.
living life from the inside out.
I
And
agree.
so, yeah, so it's really from lived experience that now I help other people achieve that.
And you know what? An interesting thing that I want to talk to you about, and let's put aside our level of expertise when it comes to mental health. And I think now it's time to really be going into more spirituality because come to think of it, and this is what I've been really trying to analyze human nature and the human condition as well, is to be able to really understand how do people think in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, People are struggling all their life. 40 years of their life, they're working for an employer. Okay. And
Yes,
and at the end, they see that they have nothing to show for. Because come to think of it, when we all die, Kareen, we came from dust and we're coming back from dust.
that's it.
Okay. So we're
Absolutely.
not taking anything with us to live on the on the I would say
Yeah,
in
the other side.
yeah, on the other side, exactly. So why not live a quality life without all this material crap that's out there?
That's
Okay.
it.
And really
Love that.
live in a very minimalistic way. Because as long as you
Yeah.
have a roof over your head, you have food, you have clothing. I mean, okay, you may say, well, I want vacation, but those who actually are working 90 hours like you did, when you do go on vacation, you're always on the phone or always on your
Yeah, you're working.
laptop. So are you really enjoying vacation? Absolutely
Hmm.
not. So what's the point
No,
of vacation if you're taking work with you?
that's right. Absolutely, absolutely.
So a lot
And
of
just
people need to start
mhm,
learning how to live their life. And you know what?
mhm.
I'm also like, I have to practice what I preach because I'm also like a workaholic. But you know what? Since I got myself divorced and all, I found that, you know what? All of what I've been working so hard for, like you, for example, when you built your business and then you got a burnout and you had to stop everything for 3 months or more to be able to heal completely from it, then you start saying to yourself, I've worked my ass off, pardon my French, to be able to build a business and then
Yeah,
go back into losing that part of the business because I had to heal from the thing that I deliberately brought upon myself.
yeah, 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 absolutely.
So don't you think this is
And it's
counterintuitive?
yes, for sure. Absolutely. And it's the thing is, it's very hard to say, but as humans, many times we need to hit a wall before we understand, before we get the lesson, right?
Mhm.
And so that's one of the reasons why, I'm very passionate about helping people prevent, these things because it's preventable. Like if you
Exactly.
have someone who's been there, done that, and who's helping you with the tools and the skills to develop these preventative measures for yourself, it makes a really, really big difference. Every time I can help somebody, not go the way that I went, is always such a joy to my heart, And
Yes.
so, but I find that a lot of overachievers and high executives have trouble not doing anything, just sitting and not doing. And so it's a learning curve for them. But once they get into it, they really, really, really are thankful for it.
And you know what? And it's interesting that you say that because um, we as executive or CEOs or any of that sort or any of those C executive position, we tend to always think that we are invincible and
That's
that we
right. And
are.
indispensable. That's
And
another
that's correct.
problem.
Exactly. So, but we realized
Yeah.
very quickly after that we are, we have a heart, we have lungs, we have the same organs as the one who is on the street or who is homeless or whatever it is.
That's
We
right.
can also be inflicted by different kind of illnesses. It can be like I said, burnout. It could be
Mhm.
depression. It could be anxiety. It could be anything of that sort. But you know what? I spoke to a few people from African countries and all that, and they basically live with almost nothing, okay? And they're the happiest people on earth. But yet in the US,
Mm.
because of our capitalistic mentality, we always try to
Mm-hmm.
more and more and more. And to do what? Because look, come to think of it, you always want to have a big screen TV. You go buy it, and then the satisfaction is gone after 1 week.
That's right.
So, I mean, what's the
Exactly.
point? I mean, I say to people, buy experiences, not assets.
Yes. Love that. That's
Okay?
exactly
That's
it.
the way to approach life to be able to guarantee it.
Yes.
But then again, do people really learn? I don't think so, Kareen. They
They
don't.
learn the hard way.
Well, but
Well, that's the
sometimes
thing.
the
You know
hard
what I
way,
say? Let
yeah,
me tell you what I say to people, to some of the people I work with, that have a hard time. I say to them, pretend that you're on a hospital bed
mhm,
and you cannot move. What will happen then? You know?
yes,
And then they say, well, people will figure themselves out. Exactly. So,
yes,
and just recently I had an event this weekend, and there was one particular person that was really reluctant to come and was giving all of these excuses. And I said to them, the problem is not the people or your family or your clients. The problem is you know, because you're basically projecting on them that they can't, do stuff without you. Just humor me and try it, you know? And
yes,
she did. And she called me back and she said, you would never believe it. But when I spoke to my family, they were like, go ahead, no problem. And my clients were like, yes, no problem. We'll do this, we'll take care of that. And I was like, see, I told you the problem is not them.
yes, exactly. But you know what? As you said, Kareen, is that unfortunately, knowing that sometimes learning the hard way can affect us in a very deep level where sometimes people cannot overcome those difficult challenges because they let it happen time after time after time without really being
Yes.
proactive. They're more reactive in nature.
That's
So,
it. That's it.
so the reality is that, okay, so do you really want this big mushroom cloud to come like a massive tidal wave of crap happening in your life? Or
Mm.
you want to be able to tackle it before it gets to that level?
That's it. Absolutely. That's my bread and butter right there.
Mhm. And but you know what? It's and this, you know what? In a way, you should thank the fact that people don't change. It's sad to
Mm.
say because if everyone changed after the first session with you, you would not have a business.
Well, you know what? The truth is, though, like I love when people actually get it, in a minimal amount of time.
Mhm.
Because the truth is, yes, okay, it's great to make money and whatever, but I'm not doing this work for money.
Mhm.
There's always going to be more clients. That's not even an issue,
Yeah.
right? So I'm not working so that they can stay with me for 12 sessions. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like,
Yes.
no. I'm working for them to be able to be self-sufficient,
Yes.
autonomous, and take charge of their life, take back their life. That's really what I'm working on. And if it takes one session, if it takes 30 sessions, it really doesn't matter. It's about, okay, what is it that is the end result? And that end result is what I'm after.
Yes, but then you know what? People, I think they need accountability. This accountability,
Yes,
not
yes.
just something that we offer as therapists, because the thing is that I have myself patient that sometimes they come to me when something arises at that given time. So it's never really
Yeah.
steady every single week, but sometimes they will have a traumatic event that occurs and they need some
Yes,
to be able to get the assistance so they could get out of that funk or out of that vortex of misery. So the key
definitely.
is for us to always be um to always have empathy despite the fact that
Hmm.
sometimes they may have not done what you suggested in terms of
That's right.
advice, but at the same time it's kind of like, look, not everyone is equipped the way we are,
Yeah.
you know.
Hmm.
So it's a very difficult challenge. But overall, when it comes to helping the women out there, Kareen, and
Yes.
you could tell the listeners, what is the most common issue do you face when it comes to coaching your client? I mean, is there some kind of redundancy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when it comes to women specifically, and most of the time it's really the aspect of feeling guilty. So there's always a guilt that comes from, okay, so am I a good mom? You know, if I choose to focus on my career, if I focus on my career, am I, neglecting my kids? So that's one of the biggest issues that I come across. And being able to understand that it takes a village to raise kids, you
Hmm.
know? And so even if you're a single mom, learning to ask for help is really, really important. And there's help out there. Even if you don't have family around, even if you don't have many friends, um, there's there's going to be an organization somewhere in your city where they offer support, even if it's respite care for 3 hours a week. Just that can make a huge difference.
I agree.
And so being able to take time for you, I talk about choosing yourself. And sometimes people think it's the selfish thing, but it's not. It's actually helping other people. The people you're trying to help, they cannot be helped if you're sick or if you're not feeling well.
Correct.
They're not getting the best of you, right?
Mhm.
And so very, very important. That's what I see a lot is women not knowing or even thinking it's impossible for them to have a few hours for themselves every week.
Yeah, like self-care. And I use the same
Yeah,
analogy for when there's a decompression of the cabin in an airplane and when the oxygen mask falls off.
that's it.
And you have to
Yes,
put yours first before you put your kids, because
exactly.
or else what's the point if you lose consciousness and then they will follow after?
Exactly.
So, but then
That's
we have the reflex of being nurturing parents, and we always gonna go for the health of our kids before our own. But then again, how is that really productive in terms of helping
Mhm.
others if you could not even know how to help yourself? So you're basically practicing or preaching certain things that you're not even practicing yourself.
Exactly. And the kids, they're smart. They know, they can see it. So even if you're there physically, but you're so exhausted that you're not even there emotionally for your kids, you're doing worse, right? Like it's worse for them, right? And so it's really, really important to know what you need. And all of us are different. We have different needs, and there's different ways to really meet those needs. So it's really important to get in touch with yourself, to be in tune with your inner compass and
Yeah.
understanding who you are, what you stand for, what your values are, and living life, like I say, from the inside out. Because a lot of the problems that people face very often is because they are living life outside in. So other people are dictating some of like decisions, emotions, feelings, thought processes, and things like that. So being very self-aware is one of the cornerstone, I believe, of personal development, is to really be aware of what's happening within
Mhm.
you, your
Yeah,
reactions, your actions,
absolutely.
everything, so that when people come to you and say, you know what, I noticed this, you can say, you know what, I noticed it too.
Yeah,
you know
that's so true.
and I'm working on it, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So before we conclude the podcast, Kareen, can you tell quickly to our listeners where they can find you, especially the women?
Yeah, so if you Google my name, Kareen Aristide, you will find me everywhere and on all socials as well. I'm most active on LinkedIn, and so yes, so you'll find me. If you seek me, you'll find me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, Kareen, that is all the time that we have for today's podcast. And again, thank you sincerely for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us. And we'll appreciate your participation and willingness to share your remarkable and expert knowledge with our large and loyal audience. Also, to our million of listeners out there, we hope that you've enjoyed today's episode as much as we did. Now, we're very excited about what's ahead of season 29 of the Happiness Journey with Dr. Dan podcast, featuring a lineup of incredible guests with powerful stories that will continue to uplift and inspire all of you. Now, here are some concluding words of wisdom. Mental health expert or any other type of gurus are not here to give all the answers. They're here to help you unlock your own. With wisdoms earned through experience, they shine light on the path you couldn't yet see. In moment of doubts, they offer perspective. In moment of chaos, they offer calm. Their presence turns confusion into clarity and hesitation into inspired action. They ask the right question, not to lead you, but to empower you. Through their guidance, you begin to remember your strength and rediscover your voice. Transformation doesn't happen in isolation. It begins in safe, supported spaces. Every challenge becomes a doorway, and every insight becomes a stepping stone. With the right guide beside you, breakthrough becomes inevitable. My name is Dr. Dan Amzallag, and you may all keep pursuing your amazing journey in life.